All right. Thank you for joining me again for another episode of Daddy Confessions. This week, I have an old friend of mine from my college days. Carlos is here, and I'm going to let him introduce himself. Carlos.
Hey, Carlos Resto, up here in Mass, and living a good life with 6-year-old twins and a 4-year-old and a beautiful wife. Glad to be alive. Glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. I've watched every podcast you put out there, so thanks for inviting me.
Cool. Well, thank you for being here, man. I appreciate it. And, it is always great to be able to speak to somebody who is surviving twins. Uh, and it's mostly because, you know what, I'm a little jealous because I always wanted twins myself. It didn't work out that way. People was like, "Oh, you can keep trying." I was like, "No, we not. Like, we are done." My wife told me 2 and through, and so I
Yeah.
believed it, and we are receiving it 2 and through. That is it. So,
My funny thing was I used to always joke around with my wife, "I'm gonna give you twins. I'm gonna give you twins," and boom. Right off the bat, it happened. I was like, "Oh, my big mouth."
I wanted it.
It's a
But
blessing,
it never happened. So, but it's
it's all
all
good.
good. And
Yes.
and then you guys decided to go back for a third.
Yeah. I was sweating bullets. I was worried. I was like, "Oh, I better not get that
You
upset."
roll the dice again.
But we got a little boy, and he's actually more work than the twins. So the twins are kind of, it's a boy girl twin. They're kind of relaxed and they get along. He's a hurricane. He's a tough one, man. So
yeah. It's that youngest child, right?
mm-hmm.
But Carlos, thank you for being here, man. So tonight we are going to talk about something that I really enjoy doing in my free time when I can find free time. I have since at least my oldest son for sure, my youngest son a little bit, is playing video games. And so what I want to talk about tonight was, understand a little bit more about how other fathers are handling video gaming and their kids. Is it something that is happening, isn't happening, how often, all those kind of things. So first, I guess my question to you is, do you play video games?
I do. Not competitive in that way. I kind of use it as my way to kind of disconnect. Um, Mostly late at night after the kids are done, wife is asleep, and she lets me give me a little chance to chill. So yeah, I'm very heavy on games, whether I get a Friday night or a Saturday night. Cool. But yeah, I use it as almost like therapy for me.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. It just, it's a little bit of an opportunity to escape, do something different. You know what I'm saying? Like depending on the type of game you're playing, like really turn your mind off and just kind of dumb it down, and that's
absolutely.
So shout out to my wife. This is a shirt that she got me. It says level 40 unlocked. She got it for my birthday. Back when I turned 40, and got the little controller. I'm a PlayStation player right here. So
so am I. So am I. So am I.
And and so yeah, I play games for similar reasons. You know what I'm saying? Just that time to escape a little bit. Like, it really is just an opportunity to unwind. Now with your gaming. Is it usually lean towards sports? Is it towards like realistic battle simulators? What kind of games do you play? Or fantasy games? You know what I'm saying? What kind of games do you play typically?
Yeah. So being a former athlete, I lean to the sports games. Big 2K guy. I'm a former college baseball player, so MLB The Show is on the heavy rotation. I do a little bit of Madden, not too much, and I used to. So there was pre-father Carlos, where I was into GTA, Call of COD, and all that stuff, and then the kids came, and now just kind of use sports, and because the sports to me is, I know there's a start and an end to the game.
Right.
Sometimes when you get into other type of games, role playing games like that, that a
take
lot of
forever.
hours trying to get
Right.
there. Yeah, so
Right.
I don't have the time and or the patience. I've tried, but I stick mostly to sports games.
Okay. What's interesting for me is it was actually probably right around the time my first son was born. So around my oldest was born that I started playing like the first person shooter games. I had never played a first person shooter
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
And a friend of mine who I used to work with, he was like, "Oh yeah, I got a group of guys that I play, Call of Duty with. You should come
yeah,
and play with us sometime." I was like, "I don't even own a Call of Duty, like a first person
yeah.
shooter. Like it make my eyes hurt. Like I never played." And then I started playing with those guys, and that was probably 8 years ago. And so I've been playing with those same guys for about 8 years. But um the sports games fell off for me because
Wow. Yeah.
what happened was I just got tired of. I felt like Madden was the same game every year. Um, I have played the show. I think the last one I played was it might have been 19. MLB the show. It was 19,
Hmm.
and honestly, I know it's a game. It's fantasy, right? But like I had a picture, and like the dude became like all-star pitcher in the second year. Like I was like, come on, this is
Not real enough. Not real
I
enough for you.
I just felt like I was throwing. I mean, I'm good, but I ain't that good.
My wife, she laughs at me because with those sports games, yeah, you play, but I kind of like doing all the GM stuff,
Yeah.
focusing
I
on
hear that.
setting up teams, and we started joking around when I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go play with my dolls,
Basically,
and
right?
try to
It's
set up
like
my team. Yeah,
right.
so that's the code word that I'm gonna go do my thing. But
Now your wife is
yeah,
not. Your wife doesn't play games.
no, she not right now, but before, yeah, she was a
Okay.
gamer. She was into Lara Croft and Tomb Raider, and she did all she can play with the sticks a little bit.
That's cool.
Um,
My wife is
yeah,
not one for that at all. She
but
would.
that was before though. Like kids came, now it's she's tired and
Yeah.
uh,
No, but it
but
didn't matter whether they were kids. My wife was like, nah, I ain't
nah,
doing
I'm
none
not
of that.
good.
Like she was like, give me a board game. Like my wife was all about board
Oh
games and
yeah.
like going
So
out and stuff. So
well, it's funny when I first met my wife, she wasn't about it. She said, "Oh, I played growing up, but I'm too mature now, and all this." And she was in grad school at the time, but she ended up getting a back surgery, and
oh, wow.
she was stuck. And during that time, I'm like, boom! I dropped a Tomb Raider game on her, and she's like, "Oh, I'll play a little bit," and boom, she got to playing again for a little bit. So
Got a little bit of
yeah,
bug on there, huh? Got it.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
cool.
Then
That's
every
cool.
time I came, she was like playing. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Well, again, it's that escapism, right? Like that opportunity to do something different. You know what I'm saying? Take your mind off of the pain that she was in or whatever.
yeah.
Like, so
And the funny thing is with that, you asked like what games I like. So I'm a sports game. Like when all these new games came out with graphics and just looking kind of real and stuff. I joke around with my brothers. I'm like, oh, those COD games are a little scary for me now. Like that's a little too intense for me right now. And she's the other way around. She's into like zombie games, like all that mature kind of scary stuff.
right.
And I'm a wimp. I'm like, just let me play my ball and I'll just do that.
Yeah, I mean, so that kind of leads me to the next point, which is like really talking about how we introduce or don't introduce video games to the kids, right? So I grew up playing video games. Like, I got the Nintendo. I think, quick story. My stepfather, I had an Atari. So I had an Atari probably when I was
Hmm.
like, like 5 or 6 or something like that.
Hmm.
And I remember playing Atari, loving Atari, and my stepfather got sick when I was 7 years old, like almost
Hmm.
about to turn 8. And he ordered me, apparently, he had ordered me a Nintendo. And right before he died,
Mm.
Nintendo came for Christmas. So
Wow.
it had just arrived for Christmas, right? Or was it my birthday? It might have been it was my birthday, and then not soon after that he died. And so it was like the way my mother explains it is that it was like this big deal, like he was waiting to see if I had, the game had arrived, and he knew I was going to love it, and I was going. And so with that, long story short, um, gaming has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember,
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
point where at some points I played video games with my mother.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
like my
That's
mother
great.
and I would sit on the bed, play Contra together. You know what
Oh
I'm
yeah.
saying?
I played.
Contra, Light
Great game.
Force, like
Yeah.
those were the games that I grew up playing. I watched my mother. I remember watching my mother beat Super Mario 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a whole those are all very fond memories in my life. And so for me, I'm like, okay, around the age of 5 or 6, it's okay to introduce
Hmm.
video games to the kids as long as there is some kind of like rules around it, right? Like
Yeah.
I actually don't think I had any rules around it, but trying
No,
to
we
put
did
some
it.
right,
No, we
right,
did it. We had
right,
Contra. We had all these
right,
other games,
yeah.
fighting games.
I mean, it wasn't really realistic, like you were talking about. You know what I'm saying? Those
No,
games were not as like the
you could
dudes
easily
flipping.
see.
Yeah, the dudes flipping on Contra, not quite the same. People blowing legs blowing off,
Yeah.
and Call of Duty. Not
Yeah.
even the same. So,
No.
um,
No.
but that's what So that's what I grew up with. You know what I'm saying? And so that is what I thought about when I had my sons. It was like I'd be love to kind of show them the games that I grew up with. So I made sure to go out and get one of the old Nintendos and plug it up, show
Yeah.
my son the games, and he loves playing video games. So what about your kids? Are your kids into video games?
Yeah. I kind of had the similar experience as you did. Like growing up, uh, had an Atari, had a Nintendo, and depending, where we lived, once again, it was always like kind of my safe haven, and kept me and my brothers just out of trouble, and a place where we can get together and play and stuff like that. So I've always loved video gaming. And yes, when I had kids, I'm like, yeah, they're gonna play some video games, because similar to you playing with your mother, I thought, well, I'm gonna be able to play with my kids. And I waited till the twins turned 4, and introduced them at we have a PS4, and I introduced them to because they were into Legos. So I grabbed one of those Lego, Marvel games, and I'm like, oh, this is great. And we're playing together. Um, and then the youngest, who's 2 years younger than the twins, what we ran into was, what he's seen on the screen, he wants to try out on his brother and sister.
Uh-oh.
So it was a back and forth with my wife, saying like, he's clearly learning of hitting and blowing up stuff. I'm like, they're Legos, like, I don't know, like they look very cartoonish. So we went back and forth with that, and then yeah, they're all into it. But yeah, we retired those games and kind of
Gotcha.
focused on sports and stuff like that. But
Yeah, no, I hear that. And that was so I remember vividly thinking about like, okay, well, you know what? I would love for him to, have a chance to understand some of the games, but we started off with actually putting them in front of games that so I bought it was kind of my my reasoning for buying a Nintendo Switch, right? It's like I was like, well,
yeah,
get a
the
Nintendo
kids.
Switch, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
I know I don't need another game system, but the Nintendo Switch, you can get up and they could do, get up
yeah,
and do things and better. And so
yeah.
we started off with like um the Let's Dance, so like dancing together on the
Hmm.
games,
Hmm.
and games that kind of got them up doing things with the controllers, right?
Hmm.
So I wish
Getting used to it.
so they weren't he wasn't sitting there with a regular controller.
Hmm.
He was up with the other controllers doing things, and so that was kind of a good starting point, I think, for me with my son. And it also allowed me to like be like, okay, I can get, Legend of Zelda, on there and
Sneaking
play
in
it
there a
myself,
little bit,
like
little
I can
bit,
play a
little
little,
bit.
now I don't even get any time on that Nintendo
No,
Switch anymore. But because he's, as he's gotten older, as he's gotten to the point where he's been able to, when he's reading things on his own,
yeah.
he's graduated to things like playing the Pokemon game on the
Hmm.
Nintendo Switch, and
Yeah.
he went out and spent his own money on it. But that was kind of a level thing that took a little while for us to get to that place. It really started off with like using games where they were up and doing things, or where
Hmm.
they had to, um, you know, stir the pot, or
Yeah.
whatever, like the little
Yeah.
games where they have.
Yeah.
Because you're right, like they take that stuff in and they don't realize that it's cartoonish. A matter of fact, they probably do realize it's cartoonish, and so they think that nobody's gonna get hurt from doing it, right? So
Yeah.
that actually makes it even worse in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
um but in terms of the violence in video games, like, so you all kind of moved away from the Lego game
Yeah.
because
So I was
violence.
into it because I was playing with them,
Right, right,
and
right,
then
right.
I get competitive, and I'm like, oh, we're going through this thing. We're about to beat it. It was me and my oldest, and once in a while the little guy would jump in there. I'd be hyped, playing with him, having fun and stuff like that. But you know, when I wasn't home, the wife was like, "Yo, the little guy's assaulting his sister. He's assaulting his brother because he's saying I'm Thor, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm Hulk." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, okay." So we backed up a little bit in that, and I started just searching for other games. And there's some, preschool educational games to learn how to count, do,
Right.
the colors and stuff. And they did that for a little bit, all three of them. And then I started exploring more like puzzles, where there's no violence really, but really, good landscape, good soundtrack, and they would try to figure out things as they were going in simulator games. So we
Right.
got like farming simulator, and I think there's a restaurant one that my daughter loves, like, setting up these little meals and stirring the pot and stuff like that.
Yo,
So
those
that's
games are tough. There's one game I can't
yeah,
remember. I wish I could remember the name of it, but it's one game where you have to like make the meals for the people. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to go through the steps, make the meal. Like at one point, your kitchen catches on fire if you don't clean up after yourself, and like
yeah.
I was like, man, I can't. Like it had my mind blown. I was like, this is difficult right here. So but yeah, but I feel you on those kind of games, because I think those kind of games teach good procedural things that kids need to
Yeah.
learn in terms of understanding that there's a process for things. And so those are the ones that, I mean, I definitely get those. And so at this point, your kids are not playing sports games.
So I try
It's
to get them
hard.
do sports.
Those games are
Yeah,
hard.
because they become harder. I know
Yeah.
2K's become hard, man, trying to get a bucket.
Right.
But um so even the baseball game, like we'll do home run derby. They like doing that. But just trying to teach them how to do the game, they just don't have the patience. They just
Right.
they want to get gratification. Those games have gotten really hard for a kid just to pick up and play at that age. So they kind of lean toward the puzzles. I do let them. I got some old school ones, like, so they can play like Sonic, and I think they got the Disney afternoon one, so they got DuckTales and Darkwing Duck, like what we grew up on, like
Right, right,
watching
right,
the
right, right.
playing.
There you go. Those are the
Uh,
ones. Yeah.
so they'll play that. They're like, "Oh, that's it, just two buttons." I'm like, "I could do this." So they're actually doing that. So it's kind of funny that we got all these new games, and I introduced like these, Super Nintendo type games from back in the day, and they kind of enjoy that just because it sounds easier to play, and easier to follow, and so that's where they're at right now. But I know my oldest though; he's always trying. I have a brother who he has his own like YouTube channel, Rusto Gaming, and he's a serious gamer, and he does all these tutorials and stuff with fighting games. So sometimes, when mom's not watching, on a Saturday night when dad's playing with his dolls, I'll give him the headset and he's talking to his uncle as he's playing and
That's
he's
cool.
watching. And he's like interested in that. And I'm like, well, we're not there yet. I'm not going to let you, play with it yet, but you can watch a little bit and spend time with family. This whole thing with gaming now, being able to talk, you
Yeah.
had that group of 8 guys that you've been playing for. It's a community now that you could build. And for us, we click like that as family and be able to have, um, my sons be able to talk and have fun with their uncle, while they're gaming. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I mean, it's a, when it works, when the community part of it works. So like when people, when you can connect with
correct,
people,
correct.
like it works great. You know what I'm saying? Like it's great for that aspect of it. And I think that it is about finding that sweet spot for where your kids are in terms of their ability to take in the gaming information, right? So like being able to do the process of all the buttons and
Hmm.
we played my son plays a Sonic game, and that works great for him because it doesn't require like all of the buttons.
Hmm. All the combos, yeah.
So I get that piece of it for sure. And and it is but at the same time, I feel like without, like I said, I've been playing video games for a long time. I feel like the video games now are not made for kids. Like really not made for
It's
kids.
it scare me, man.
Yeah, I mean, like they really not made for kids because as we have learned as parents of young kids, they have a hard time even figuring out the, the button layout of that. And obviously they're smart enough that eventually if we let them like sit in front of the game long enough, they will figure it out. Like
Hmm.
they either figure it out or they get so frustrated they don't want to do it. Right?
Yeah.
One of those two things will happen.
Yep.
And so I know that there are a lot of young kids who play games often and they've probably gotten really good at it just because of that, the rote button mashing and figuring out what those combinations
Hmm.
do. But at the same time, like it's clear that it's not made for where their brains are right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not gonna push it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not something that I feel is necessary to push them to try to do more of. But I do love being able to watch them enjoy games,
Yeah.
being able to play with them, um, and it actually was really so almost a year ago today, like or around this time, um, my son and I started playing a game on the phone, Pokemon Go, um, and I started playing it. I think I downloaded the game in like February because he was interested in Pokemon. I don't know, some kid at school introduced him to Pokemon cards and it started getting on my nerves. I was like, I don't know what he's talking
How
about.
old is he? How old is he?
He's 7 now. So, but he started talking about Pokemon and he was talking about the different names. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. He was like, do you know what kind of Pokemon this is and what region is from? I was like, boy, if you don't get out my face with Pokemon and the region and da 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 da. And then I made the mistake and downloaded Pokemon Go on my phone. And the next thing I know, I'm like caught up in it with him. Like we're walking around, we're like going to the park, we're like going to different places and we're trying to catch Pokemon together. I'm learning about Pokemon. I know way more than I ever thought I would know about Pokemon. You know what I'm saying? And that was a really kind of interesting turning point because we then spent the the most of the past year. So this past year in quarantine, like socially distancing, but going out to different places and catching Pokemon together.
That's cool.
It was cool until I realized that I was doing it by myself. Like I was doing it, I was
Your,
like doing
your
it without him.
the competitive spirit
Yeah,
kicks in as a gamer. Like, oh, I got to get this. Yeah, it's
yeah,
so
yeah.
funny.
Well, it first became real to me when I found myself getting in my car and then checking the app and seeing that there was a Pokemon nearby that I didn't have. And at the time, it was a Gyarados, and I was like, Gyarados. Oh man, we don't have that. So I went, I got the Gyarados, I like tracked it down, like literally, like I'm in this neighborhood
Don't even
walking
like.
around.
No.
Like I don't know where I'm at. I'm like walking around trying to catch this Gyarados. I catch the Gyarados, and I'm like, oh, Trey is gonna be excited about this. Like he don't have one. Like we're gonna be able to. I walk in the house. I said, Trey, guess what I caught? And he was like, what? And I caught a Gyarados, and I show him my phone, and he immediately starts crying.
Oh no.
He's like, how did you get one and I don't have one? And I was like, well, I'll trade it to you. I don't even know what a Gyarados is. You can have it. Like, and
Oh,
I mean, he got so excited about that, but and then it snowballed from there because we played all through the
yeah.
summer, all through the we did some of the little events that they had or whatever, and then his birthday came around, and he had gotten to a point where he was reading at a high enough level where I felt okay with him getting a game that had some reading involved in it. And that the
Nice.
Pokemon game on the PlayStation has reading involved in it.
A
Like
lot of it.
now apparently you can get through the whole game without reading at all if you don't care. Like if you like if you just
Yeah,
want to just
yeah.
click the button and go
Just go
through it.
right through. Yeah.
And that's pretty much what he was doing, but I made him stop and read it sometimes. So he would stop and read it to me. And so he was working on his reading, right? So um but then I realized that he could care less about Pokemon Go anymore. And I was
Oh.
like, oh man, so the video game trumped the cell phone game that we were playing together. Now I'm out here looking like Boo Boo the Fool with all these Pokemon on my phone
Nothing to do with it.
and
I
nothing.
think
So
I'm headed that way too because my oldest 6.5 years old, Alex, is he's collecting these little cards, Pokemon. I don't know where he got them, but he's reading them,
yeah.
and he's learning about them, and he's asking questions.
Yo,
And I'm in
it
the
went
same boat.
when he
It's
started
like you're
asking
saying that.
Alexa. When he started asking Alexa about it, you're gonna be like,
Yeah, he's going to the right direction. So maybe I'll be doing something like that this summer. But that's interesting. I got a question. You know, gaming growing up for us was just entertainment, our escape. You know, we got to play and have fun. What do you think about now gaming? Now, these colleges are giving out,
scholarship.
scholarships.
It's
They're
crazy,
they're
right?
esports athletes now. And I remember so to let you know, my wife, she has a master's degree in criminal justice. She was a school principal at a department of corrections. This person, she owns her own business. Um, a true alpha. So I remember when I was trying to convince her about video gaming with the kids, I feel like I have to come up with a PowerPoint and my, what's good about it and everything. But I remember telling him like, hey, you got 3 kids, you want them to go to college. Guess what? They're giving some scholarships for esports. And I'm a former athlete, but I'm like, I don't know if they're going to be have that athletic side to them, but we could play some games and see where they can get us and get them a free education or somewhere, So yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting situation right now uh, that we are in, and it's big industry right now, right? Like it's a lot of
Yes.
money being pumped into video games, now being pumped into virtual reality, and if and they're absolutely right. Not only are there people getting scholarships to college to do it, but there are people who are making
They're
a living
paid.
off of doing it just on their own. They dropped out of college. Never
They're
even thought about
streaming.
going to college.
Yeah.
They're just
Yep.
streaming all day, and people paying them. And my son will watch someone play Minecraft on YouTube all day if I don't stop
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. Your son and my son must be like, twins.
Apparently it's a thing. Apparently it's just the thing that
That's
you do at
exactly
6 or 7 years old. Like your mind
apparently.
is like Minecraft and Pokemon, and like that's all you know, and it's crazy. And so I on some level, colleges do what colleges do, right? You know what I'm saying? They're gonna do whatever they can do to make money off of their students. Let's be
Mm-hmm.
honest, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's why I am in a camp that says college athletes should get some kind of stipend at least. I'm not saying you
Absolutely.
need to necessarily pay them outright, but yes, their college education may be paid for, but they should also be able to have some kind of way to live a little bit above and
Absolutely.
beyond that. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm preaching to the
Absolutely.
choir because you are, you know, I
But
mean,
tell me, yeah,
from the man who missed some parts of his college career because he
yeah,
was traveling plans, you know what I'm
we
saying?
missed our
So, yeah,
graduation.
so
It was is 5 of us seniors. We missed our college graduation because we're in upstate New York playing ball,
right.
and in the amount of time you put in and work over the summer, like off season, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were in D3 school. We're not bringing money to the school, but you know, the baseball team was pretty good, and you know, obviously got eyes for you know, for the coaches to recruit and get a good name that, hey, we got a good baseball program. So I'm down for that. You know, and I know there's certain colleges that you do actually, you know, do the paying under wraps and stuff,
Right,
but
right, right.
I'm all for it. You know, they're making especially the NCAA and D1 like making millions
Yeah. Yeah.
on these student athletes. So
So they're
I'm
gonna
big
do
for that.
whatever they can to make money off of their students. So if
Hmm.
the students can get something out of it, you know what I'm saying? If they get to play video games and do it competitively and they can it's a short-lived career anyway. I mean, that's not something people do for forever and ever. So you might as well, you know,
Well, we don't know. You can't say that.
look,
It's so new.
I can't no, what I mean by a short-lived career is if you really are trying to get 20 years out of playing competitive sports, then your eyeballs are gonna pop out your head.
I
like
guess. I
I
guess
truly believe
carpal
that. Like
tunnel, maybe. I
right,
guess
like
I
you
don't
gonna
know.
I mean, you know,
Something's gonna break down.
because I mean, even a professional athlete really on the outside has 20 years of playing,
Hmm.
right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
like really outside. You know, how
that's like
many
extreme. Yeah.
yeah, like if you I mean, that's you know, you tell me. I'm sure there's at least one baseball player that probably got like 15 years.
Oh, there's plenty of. I think the athletes now, you know, they're able to take care of themselves more. But you know, I'll think about the legend Hank Aaron. He played
Yeah,
24 seasons, you
that's right.
know, and
I
stuff like
mean,
that.
you're
So
not gonna find that in football though. But I mean, yeah,
no, it's rare. Well,
yeah.
Jerry Rice played
Jerry
20
Rice,
years,
he
I
played
think.
20. That's right. I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So,
So.
but yeah, I mean, you know, I'm all for it. I would also like my sons to consider doing some as little boys of color. I would like them to consider doing sports that are outside of the norm for little
Mm,
black boys, right?
yeah.
So do bowling. You know what I'm saying? Be a wrestler. You know,
Uh,
like consider a sport like now if they could play baseball,
swimming.
swimming, if they could play
Yeah.
baseball, I would be proud of them. But they daddy can't hit baseball to save his life. So if they can do it, I'd be like, I don't know, you must have got that from your mama or your grandmama because you sure ain't get it from me. So man, I have missed my fair share of baseballs in my life. Like slow pitch, fast pitch. I'm like, I don't even understand how people do this.
It's
So
the hardest thing in sports. Don't worry about it. You ain't the only one. You ain't the only one.
so yeah,
But
but that's what I want for them. I'm like, try some of those different sports. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like,
So it's funny. So my wife comes from a theater family. So she was acting and I found out so much stuff. You know, being around her and her family. Like there's drama camps and stuff like, you know, what I would think. You know, as an athlete, like you know, there's baseball camp, basketball camp, and they have drama camp. But I'm like, really? You guys got stuff like this? And she's like, yeah, and there's like this and that. So for me, I'm excited for them to like, you know, not just do athletic stuff like the sports I played, basketball and baseball mostly, but um, yeah, I want them almost to do like something like track, where you know all you need is your legs and
right.
run and also to do arts. I'm big on arts, like Um, just because I'm not sure if where I grew up, it wasn't really pushed upon us
Right.
the way we were growing up in the neighborhood. It was art wasn't. It was always about basketball. You know what you saw on TV. That's what
Right.
you
Right.
wanted to
Right.
be.
Right.
Um,
Interestingly
so
enough, and you probably don't notice about me, I was a theater kid. So I didn't do theater at in our
it is
college at
no.
Trinity, because I started off when I freshman year. I was actually going to be I was going to do a double major with theater. Like I was going to have theater as part of my major because I did theater in high school. And the first time they told me I was going to have a night class, I was like, a night class? Nah, I'm good. You know
I'm
what?
done.
I'll just watch theater, that finished it for me. Like that did like
Yeah.
completely kill theater for me. But I love theater, and I want my boys to also get involved in theater and singing. And I sang in the choir and things like that. So I want them to have those experiences as well. Yeah, band camp is real. Band camp is real. Theater camp is real.
See, I didn't know this stuff.
Those
I
are
didn't
those
know
are
this
real
stuff.
things. Those are,
I
you
was
know what I'm
like,
saying? They work
I was like,
hard in those
oh,
places. Yeah, they
yeah,
work
they
hard.
do.
So
They do. I saw my nephew. My nephew's a great actor and stuff, and singing and dedication to put into it. And me growing up, like even watching, I love theater. We love musicals, and yeah, even talking about, you know, that's what I want them to be excited about. Um, but my youngest, he's all about sports and stuff like that. My oldest twin, the boy twin Alex, he's a big gamer. His sister's into simulators, like with animals.
okay.
So she loves being fox, and like she's like a animal kingdom expert. Like this girl knows everything when it comes to it in those games. We're bringing into it, but um, I kind of push them to arts, and I even highlight. I'm like, hey, doing video games, it's an art.
That's right.
It's an
Absolutely.
ability to do that. So it's an entire world that I don't know about you, but my parents were always like, damn Nintendo. Every system is called a Nintendo for a
Yeah.
Puerto Rican parent. Maldito Nintendo. Everything's a Nintendo. It doesn't matter, everything's a Nintendo. But for them, they just didn't get it. And now to see where it's at now,
Right.
it's a lot of opportunities for our kids who hopefully enjoy gaming like us, and you know, sky's the limit, I guess, with this.
Absolutely. And I believe there are, if there are not like video game camps where kids play video games, there are at least games where they learn how to code camps where they learn how to code video
Yes,
games.
yes,
So so that's something as well, like going through that whole process of learning the back end of it, learning how games are created is a really cool next step piece,
yeah,
that I think I would like my boys to look into and think about as they're learning um about the arts, right? Like when
yeah,
I was growing up, when I was in school, you know what I'm saying, what we learned about was drafting. Like now, I don't know nobody who ever drafted a piece of wood in real life, but we did it. And I mean, I know there's people who do it, but like it was a class that we took. The most interesting part of drafting was actually working with the computer to create the design. Now I had a hard time with that, but that is like the beginning of creating a 3D rendering that they do in video games. Same kind of thing.
yeah.
Um, and I remember that vividly, struggling in that class and drafting class. And I was like, I just need to make it through. I was asking God, please let me get through this class. I can't draw a square, a box with this computer to save my life. But so, but
I remember doing graphic arts. I think middle school, same thing, super hard struggle, and I'm like, this is not me, and I'm not
yeah.
really artistic. Can't draw a lick. I can't do anything, So when it comes to the artistic side, so I bless my wife with that. She has all those skills.
But you know what? It's so important that we push those things for our kids to see. What I mean when I say push, I don't mean like push it on them, but like push those things in front of them so that they see them and realize that those are options, right? Like realize that the work, because there are very few people of color who are actually in the video game
Yes.
space.
Yep.
Although, in terms of the history of video games, God, I wish I could remember his name. I'm gonna have to put it in the show note, in the line of notes of the show. The gentleman who is like the one of the like the father of video games, a black man. Um, and so
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his
I
name
can't
because I
remember his
remember
name.
watching a Netflix documentary on
Yeah,
that they have,
yeah.
and I'm like, look at this. Like we need to know about this stuff.
Right,
We need to
exactly.
put that out there.
Exactly. So, and it's important. It's important that they understand that these are opportunities for them to do the things that they want. You know what I'm saying? Whether it is playing video games, getting a scholarship to college, or starting their own business where they are designing video games, or something that has nothing to do with video games at all.
Yeah,
But the options are there for them, and they can do it all. So
absolutely.
yeah. So tell me a little bit about, um, you know, have you all ever, thought about um, what it will happen next in terms of like the
What's the next
evolution?
level?
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
what does that look like for in your house in terms of
yeah.
video games?
I've thought about it. Everything has to go through the boss, which is my wife. But yeah, I'm hoping that you know um, that they go through from these simulators to hopefully maybe an RPG type style game where they're trying to build skills and gather stuff. The reading aspect. That's one of the biggest things that I noticed from the twins, that they were able to read instead of just pressing X and going through things, and are actually taking the time to read what was
Right.
happening in the game. So I'm hoping RPG is next, not too violent and stuff like that. Um, for the next phase, I feel like, and hopefully try to build characters. Um, you know, I think
Yeah.
that builds some skills about one, how to strategize, and kind of open other ideas. And once again, it's art,
Right.
imagination can grow, and possibly become storytellers in some of these games where you kind of control the fate of what the character is. So hopefully that's the way we're going. Um, when it comes to like first person shooters and stuff like that, uh, once again, I'm too much a whip. That thing's too real for me. I think eventually, maybe within like 10 years old, I know there's some kids who are playing stuff like really early on, which you know, uh, I guess it's up to the parents. For us, it's not our flavor right now, but hopefully little by little. But you kind of mentioned what your oldest does with YouTube. What I've noticed too is that they're spending more time watching somebody play than actually play lately, and it's just like,
Yeah. And,
I guess,
that
I
that
guess it's
blows
fun.
that blows my mind. That blows my mind because I think the part about that blows my mind the most, and I had to stop my son. I was like, "Look, you need to understand." So my godson also likes to play, Minecraft, and he actually got my son interested in Minecraft because
Hmm.
my son didn't really know anything. I mean, he kind of heard people talking about Minecraft and creepers and all that nonsense, but he really didn't know about Minecraft. And then uh um he got Minecraft game for Christmas, and then he started watching people play Minecraft on YouTube, and I was like, "What? You do know that first those people are playing a different version than what you have. They are playing on a computer. They're like using all the cheats
PC.
to, what I'm saying? Like they are doing all the extra things that you won't be able to do." And you sitting here and you're like studying what they're doing, trying to figure out how you can do it. I was like, why don't you just go play the game and enjoy the game? Like you have the game, like play the
Yeah.
game.
Yep.
And he will sit there and he will just like intake all of these odd, and I say odd people I hate to say odd people because they are doing it for entertainment purposes, right? So
They want views. They want
they
views.
use the weird
Yeah.
voices and things like that to get more people to watch. But
Yep.
the fact that, I mean, I don't know how many hours they on there doing it, but he's sitting there watching them. I'm like, yo, you don't have nothing better to do? Can we figure out something?
So for us, we're outnumbered. We got the 6-year-old twins and a 4-year-old. So sometimes we're like, yeah, go ahead, go watch your Minecraft. Um, yeah, I think they probably watch whatever some panda guy
Yes,
makes all
that's the
these
one.
sounds.
That's the
He
one.
makes all these sounds on that.
He makes all the
Hero.
sounds. I'm like, what is?
Yeah, I'm like, this dude's loud. We got him some headsets, and we're good. And they're not bothering nobody. They're especially the boys. My boys wrestle from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. So sometimes when we see them at peace and we check, I'm like, oh, they're watching somebody play a video game.
Right.
We're cool with it. But yeah, it's so funny. It's interesting. Because for us, it was like we wanted games growing up because we wanted to play them.
Right.
I don't know if I would be like, oh, let me watch somebody, but
right. I mean,
whatever works.
I ain't even want to read the magazines to find out what was going on in the video
No,
games. I just
right?
wanted to play the video game. I was like, let
They
me
all
figure
the
this
guys
out.
treats. Yeah, because it was it was great. It was especially like a game like Zelda, be able to find everything and
Right.
and feel good about it. So
Yeah.
I just think our kids are way too smart. They have so much technology and access to information, and I want to learn something. Boom, Google it, or like you said, Alexa,
That's right.
tell me about this. Boom. So yeah, but I think once again, like the whole idea of video gaming, at least for our family, it brings us together. We watch them play. They're together. They ain't hurting nobody.
Right.
They're safe. So.
And I think the stigma is gone. That kind of existed. Not when we started playing as kids, but somewhere around, I would say maybe high school, middle school, high school. I think, and even I think back to it now. That might even been a time when I didn't play as much. Was around that it was like somewhere in that those early teenage years. Like it became like if you played video games and you was like this loser who sat in front of the game all day long or whatever. Like,
yeah, you're supposed to be at the mall. You're supposed to be hanging out.
Right. And but for me, what I'm saying, I grew up in Washington D.C., area called Southeast Washington D.C. So it's a whole part of D.C. So Southeast, Northeast, South. Honestly, really, any place is not Northwest D.C. had a lot of like violence, right?
Yes.
I grew up in a pretty violent neighborhood, and it was like, yo, if I go out there, I'm gonna get in trouble. So I'm gonna stay in here where there's no trouble. Like, and that's what I did, and it really happened actually sometime after it really, really changed for me sometime after I did get in trouble. Like,
you got in trouble.
So I was like, you know what? I'm done with trouble. So let's not. My mother didn't play that, so I was like, I'm done with trouble. So I'll be right here with in the video game area. So
we have the same. It's the same exact story. Me growing up, like the neighborhood was the nicest. We had drugs, we had gangs, we had violence out there, and I learned really early on. I didn't want to be caught out there. I didn't want to get mistaken for somebody else and jumped or anything. And I remember my dad, saying like, "Yo, you guys got to be out." And once again, that was during my teenage years. They're like, "Yo, you should be hanging out at the arcade or something." I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm good here." I was the oldest of 4 boys, and obviously you met Angel. Angel's a year younger than me, but then the other two, there's a 10-year and 13-year gap. So while I was a teenager, I was helping my mom out, and I didn't bother me in playing video games with them. I would play video games, stay safe and out of trouble. And my job was to study, help my parents, take care of my younger brothers, and game. That's what we did. Play sports and we gamed.
Right.
But
That's
it kept us safe.
Trouble. That's how you stay out of trouble, right? You go to
Kept us
your
safe.
sports practice, You come home
Yep.
and play your games. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
those are the things that you did, and actually playing the sports probably kept you just as safe because if people saw that you had skills at a sport, like then they would leave you alone. Like
Hmm.
they knew you had a chance to
To get
make
out.
something of yourself.
Hmm.
It's crazy that that's the way. Like, but you have to either be smart or be athletic. That's why smart and athletic people get out of those bad neighborhoods.
Hmm.
Not
Hmm.
to say that some of the people who are caught up are not smart people, but it's the people who they see as like those really smart people and the really athletic people. Like, oh, they gonna get out, so we're gonna leave them alone and let
Yeah.
them,
They
And I
got a
always
future. Yeah.
right, right, and I always thought that was a very interesting kind of a way. But that was, I think back on it, and that's what we dealt with. Like that's what it was. So it was
Hmm.
kind of crazy. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I had
Well,
I had I had a humongous family, by the way. Like growing up, my dad's one of 15, and my mom's one of 13.
but wait, but were there any other twins?
So, oh yeah, so my grandmother on my mom's side had two sets of twins,
Oh wow, okay, so there
and
were
and,
twins there.
yep, and my dad, my grandmother had one set of twins.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, it runs in the family and stuff. But when you talk about identifying people in the neighborhood who are either smart or potential athletes who kind of have a future outside of the neighborhood. Luckily, my dad was the third youngest of 15. I had a lot of cousins looking out for
Right,
me
right, right.
and my brothers, and kind of be like, "Don't mess with them. Don't do anything. They're gonna do their thing."
So y'all had the
Um,
whole town hemmed up. It was like it was your
yeah,
family.
yeah. It's really funny when I met my wife and I was taking her girl to see my mom, and we're like, "Well, let's stop at the mall." I was like, "I'm just gonna warn you, we're gonna run into a family member, guaranteed." And not like 10 seconds
That's
passed. Boom,
funny.
my aunt's right there. I'm like, let me introduce you to my aunt. It is like she's like everywhere. I'm like, yeah,
That's funny.
we're a very healthy reproductive family here. So, but it's all love. So
That's cool. That's cool. Well, Carlos, this has been great, man. It's been great reconnecting with you and having a chance to talk with you about one of my favorite things to do. You know what I'm saying? Play little video
amen.
games.
Yeah,
And so I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here, and we definitely gonna have you back. I say we. I don't know why I say we. It's just me. I'm doing this by myself. I don't have no company. I don't have nobody
bro,
handling nothing. It's
bro.
just me.
Yeah, yo, I saw those subscribers. They're going up, bro.
Yo, you know
You
what?
got an army. You got an army going behind
All
you, bro.
four of the subscribers
No,
out
no, no,
there.
no,
You know
no.
what
You're
I'm saying?
gonna blow up, bro. You wanna blow up. This is a great platform. I think it's needed. I think I love the idea of having fathers of color and being able to have these discussions and stuff like that. So I really thank you from the bottom of my heart giving me an opportunity to be here, being able to chill, catch up, and absolutely I look forward to anything you need to be able to sit down and talk like this. This is therapy for me. So
Cool,
thank you
cool.
so much.
Well, I appreciate you for sure for being here, and I definitely would love to have you back on, chat a little bit more, and if anybody else who might be interested, let them know as well. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we get your brother on here.
You get
Um,
my brother, you get Hoppy Sanchez, Javier Sanchez in
Yeah,
there and
yeah.
stuff, like
I love to get
former
those
roommate.
guys. Yeah, I love to get those guys on here. So we'll see. We calling people out now. So we had to
Yeah, I will. I will. Absolutely. Nah,
for
I think
sure.
your show is hot, bro. This
Thank
podcast
you.
is hot.
I
It's dope.
appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. So thank you and thank the four other people who watched the show. We appreciate you all. All right,
Thank you,
Carlos,
John.
brother. Thank you so much. Enjoy your night and enjoy your family. And we will definitely be back to do this again sometime soon. All right.
Absolutely, brother.
All right.
Thanks.
Peace.